Hello, I'm Avery or Hazel or Kylie. You can just pick one, I don't care.
Hello, I am Lily.
And welcome to the From the Closet podcast, second Christmas special for 2022. Today we are
Ho,
covering,
ho, hose.
wow, really creative there. Today we are covering Home Alone, which is barely a Christmas movie, but we'll go with it. You can join us next
Everyone
week.
considers it a Christmas movie, especially my cable company. Jesus Christ.
But you can join us next week for the SpongeBob SquarePants movie and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 1. If you would like to avoid spoilers for Home Alone, there is a link
Why?
in the there is a link in the description to Just Watch, which will have all the places you can purchase, rent, or stream this movie. Uh, our link is to the US version of the site, but if you use the app, it will redirect you to your country's page automatically, and you can change the page from the website itself.
No, no,
Also in
no.
the dis-
If you somehow manage to avoid spoilers for Home Alone, that's just impressive.
I gotta be honest, like I don't know that I've seen 2, 3, and 4 ever. Like I know
Yeah,
I've
but like,
seen
I feel like
this movie before a number of times.
I almost feel like everyone, even if you haven't watched it, I feel like everyone at least knows a decent chunk of the story of Home Alone.
At least the first one, yeah, probably. Um,
Yeah.
I do know that I have been to the hotel in 2 that he tears up. Um,
Hmm.
like it's an actual real hotel, and I've been there. I didn't stay there, but I've been there.
Oh, that's cool.
But regardless, also you will find in the description that a link to our Patreon where you can get access to episodes of this show early, as well as early access to episodes of our sister show, Off the Shelf, which is about books and is exclusive to YouTube and Patreon. You will not find it on any of the audio platforms. Also, you can vote on future episodes of this show on the Patreon as well. Uh, you will also find in the description a link to Anchor.fm, which itself will have links to every platform that this podcast is on, as well as links to our Instagram and Twitter, where you can be notified when we release a new episode. So, with all that being said, let's get into this movie.
So guess what? We won't be as toxic in this podcast. Not because we have the same opinions. No, we just did that all off screen.
I mean, okay, so this is probably going to be another case where it was like Infinity Train season 3, where I really didn't like this movie, and I think Lily really does like it.
I mean, I'm obviously not. It's no 8. Let's be honest, but it's definitely a classic.
To some people,
Yeah. Um.
I I'm sorry, Home
Uh,
Alone fans, but I am going to talk about my issues with this movie.
well, I'm going to talk about some of the strengths of this movie as well. But of course, spoilers ahead.
Yeah, obviously. So leave if you don't want them, because we're talking about shit now. Okay, so I'm just gonna start off by saying what I do like. I really love the scenes where Kevin is defending his house from Harry and Marv. I also really like Kevin's interactions with the old man and like how he's not really a bad guy and like he's not as scary as Kevin first thought. Of course, he was told to think that way by a member of his family, which I'll get to them later. Um,
I mean, you always have these rumors about people. Doesn't mean that they're always true, but there's always one way of how rumor spreads.
right.
People.
And
Not
I did think the comedy in this movie was for the most part pretty funny. It doesn't quite reach the level of Elf's comedy, but it's still
Yeah.
funny. I do also I don't know. Part of me really likes when he just goes shopping and there's that interaction between him and the cashier, and she's like, "Where is your mom?" And he's like, "In the car." "Where's your dad?" "At work." Uh, "Where do you live?" "I'm not telling you that." "Why? You're a stranger."
I will be honest, and this could play an effect with something that you're going to say later. For whatever reason, he's a really good liar.
I mean, we'll talk about that later. But I would say that's
Also,
typical. I would say being a good liar is typical for kids in his scenario.
also weirdly obsessed with Dental Health Association on a toothbrush.
That's something. I
Just
don't
things
know.
I've noticed.
That's something. But yeah, so the things I really don't like are Kevin's family and the entire moral lesson that Kevin is supposed to learn. So for the first like 10, 15 minutes of the movie, everyone in Kevin's family acts like a dick towards Kevin. And they're literally abusing him. And it's like, in some way you can't really blame the kids because they're just copying the adults in their life, but it still doesn't make it okay. It's just that Kevin is facing abuse from all sides. And like, while you might say that Kevin is like being a little shit, he's being a kid and he's acting out, and like he's being told he's a bad kid all the time. When you tell a kid they're going to be a bad kid, then they're going to sorry. When you tell a kid that they're bad, they're going to be a bad kid.
I
That's basic
obviously
child psychology.
I obviously said my piece on like Avery thinks it's this type of stuff happens every not every day, but like most of the time. I would say that because of the heightened emotions of the holiday, of the family, they have a they have a stupidly big family. Can we
They
agree on
do.
that?
Yeah,
Okay,
they do have a
sorry,
stupidly big family, but like I'm not saying
I just
that
wanted to add.
that I'm not saying that this abusive incident is like the same thing that happens every single time. But what I would say is that he does face this abuse a lot. The movie kind of makes that clear that he's been facing this a lot. And you can clearly see in the scenes when he's by himself, and you see flashbacks of his family members saying horrible things to him. Like, you can see that this is really affecting him.
Then again, like if someone was abused that bad, I feel like it took him a little bit too soon to be. Damn, I kind of want my family back now. Maybe it's the holidays affecting him. I don't know.
I think that's more the weird writing of this movie. I because they're trying to force in this moral lesson that he needs to appreciate his family, and I'm like, no, he doesn't. They're abusive to him. He doesn't need to learn to appreciate that.
I mean, I feel like there's another lesson of people may say or say something that they don't mean, and 10 out of 10 times will absolutely regret later.
Yeah, but that message is communicated a lot more effectively with the old man than it is with Kevin's family.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
a
mean,
lot more
obviously, the
effectively.
entire reason that, the old man was even there was to convey said lesson to Kevin.
Well, I think
Which,
it almost happens in the reverse way. Actually, it's more like he conveys the message, but more like Kevin conveys that message to him.
I guess that's true. But, like,
Um,
I mean, you get what I mean. The only reason why he's here is because of that lesson. That's actually kind of and I could be wrong, but that's kind of a Home Alone thing of where oh, look at this strange adult person. We'll be saying that a lot.
Also, I kind of have this theory that the son was gay and the old guy was like homophobic, and that's why they fell out.
Hmm.
Just my headcanon. It's not confirmed in the movie at all, but I think that would be, that would be something. Also, speaking of gay, we should cover Strange World at some point. When that becomes available on Disney Plus.
I have never heard. Oh, Strange World is the newest movie, right?
Yeah, it's the newest Disney movie, like
How much
Disney
gay is in
Animation
it?
Studio. Well, the main character is gay, and they talk about it at least 3 separate times in the movie. So
God
that's what I've
damn.
heard. That's what I've heard.
Okay. Making me want to
But
go watch it more and more.
yeah, but I've heard that otherwise it's not really a particularly great movie. And most people just say it's worth watching to stick a middle finger to homophobic Disney.
Hmm.
But yeah, we'll cover that maybe. But I don't think
Maybe.
it's on Disney Plus yet.
It should be. Oh well.
But yeah,
I mean,
uh,
streaming is really killing my favorite way of watching movies.
if you're gonna say the movie theater, I disagree. I do not think streaming's killing it.
Well, I mean, people are going to the movie theater less and less nowadays. Literally, my own
No,
family is never even caring about the movie theater anymore.
I have seen people going to the movie theater more and more now that like the pandemic is mostly over. I mean, COVID's still around, but it's not nearly as bad as it used to be.
I mean, I've definitely
And
seen a lot of people that like in this mindset of, well, why should I go to the theater now? It's probably just going to be on my streaming service a few days later.
that's usually not what I see. Because especially typically with anything owned by Disney, it usually takes a couple of months. Um,
I see people like, yeah, I could wait a few months instead of having to pay to go to the theater. And to be fair, some theaters are really expensive. Some theaters, like the one nearby my house, is not.
yeah,
I would
like
I would kill to go. No, what's actually being killed, and I would even argue is my actual favorite way of watching a movie, the drive-in.
that might be dead. Yeah, I don't know.
I mean,
Um,
it's been dying even before streaming. I don't think it can
yeah, and
take any more.
I think in large part due to the fact that drive-ins relied on people using FM radios, and
Yeah,
people just don't use those anymore.
still
Hell,
though, I love
hell,
watching movies.
I've even been
And
seeing cars being made that don't have them.
oh yeah, they all have like the Sirius XM, you know.
Yeah, and like seeing cars without CD players, that's another thing too. It's like, yeah, kind of makes sense. I mean, you can just rely on Sirius XM and Bluetooth connection, and
Or like, yeah, Bluetooth connection Spotify. That's what my friend does. He does. He
yeah,
never
or
even uses the radio.
yeah. Now I do personally prefer like aux connection over Bluetooth connection because you do get better sound quality. Plus, you can often listen to your music in a car that doesn't have Bluetooth with when you have an aux
Even
connection.
still, like that's still like that's still not radio. You know, radio is definitely getting smaller and smaller.
Yeah, and I think I think that's what's killing drive-ins more than anything. I think the pandemic was really, really hard on movie theaters, and they struggled
Mhm.
quite a bit. largely because people weren't, not only because people weren't going to the theater, but they also weren't making movies either.
Yeah, because people weren't going to the theater.
Well, it was also kind of hard to get actors
Oh,
and
yeah, that too,
directors
yeah.
and everybody coordinated to actually make a movie.
I almost forgot about that. But I mean, once you get past all of that, struggles, you then have to remember, oh yeah, no one's effing going to the theater anyway.
Yeah, it's like, and the movies that do get made, I can kind of understand why some of them ended up being not nearly as great as they could have been. For example, Raya and the Last Dragon.
Oh
Like
yeah. Which,
they had to make that movie during the pandemic, and it's not particularly a great movie.
yeah, if we had to cover that one again, we both would get a drastically different score.
Yeah, I would
I
lower
remember we,
it
I remember we
because
did
it's.
that movie pretty high, I believe.
I think we both gave it like somewhere in the sevens, so not really that high.
I almost thought we gave it somewhere in the eights, or at least I did.
I just think like the message about blind trust is a little bit harmful to kids, but I mean, there are things to like about the movie. Like the animation is beautiful, some of the action sequences are nice, and like I don't know. Some people don't like Aquafina, but I think she's pretty fun to watch.
Did you say Aquafina?
That she played Sisu.
Okay. That's a fucking water brand.
Yeah, it's also the name of a an actress.
Huh. Like, once you said that, I was like, the the fucking water bottle brand? What?
Although it is kind of funny that two movies came out in 2021 starring Aquafina, and both were about dragons.
What's
The
the
other
second
one was
one?
the other one was a Marvel movie. We'll get to it later.
There's a Marvel movie starring dragons? Okay, I'm interested.
I wouldn't say starring, but it does feature dragons.
Feature. Nice.
But yeah, back to Home Alone. I would say that at best, the morals of this movie are questionable. And at worst, it's downright
Every.
morally bankrupt.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest here. Even if we give this, like, the movie the best we can, over and analyzing this movie, everything is questionable. This movie was
Yeah.
not meant to be overanalyzed. You're supposed to take it as it is.
I don't know. Just to me, I wasn't even analyzing it that hard. It's just like I messaged you last night saying, like, I really hope this movie gets better because this kid is literally just being abused for like the first 10 minutes. Um, and
I was
like,
playing Splatoon, so that's why I didn't respond.
yeah, like it bothered me so much that I turned off the movie and watched the rest earlier today.
I mean, That's just what I do. I watch the movie typically the day of, so I have I remember more of it.
Yeah. But I don't know. It's nowhere near as morally bad as The Parent Trap was, but it's still kind of
Oh
bad.
god. I mean,
And unlike
you
The
have to be
Parent Trap,
really bad. You have to be really bad for it to reach the Parent Trap level.
yeah, like, and also unlike The Parent Trap, this movie isn't boring. As much as I don't like the movie, it's not boring.
That really keeps you interested with some of the humor and probably really good slapstick humor as well. I would
Yeah.
say.
And it's definitely been talked about a number of times, like the amount of laws that get broken in this movie. Because like it's not just Harry and Marv that are breaking laws. Kevin's parents are breaking laws. Kevin is breaking laws. I mean, for one thing, we literally see him shoplift, albeit accidentally. And that is a real thing, and you can sometimes kind of get away with it if you like you can just like go back to the store and say, hey, I didn't realize I accidentally took this, blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, it
there are
was accidental.
protections in place, like if you shoplift accidentally.
Um, However, I mean, he also was running from the police as well. I don't think that also bodes well.
It doesn't, but he was terrified of the man who he hadn't learned yet wasn't really that scary.
That's true. Also, just because a man is robbing you, um, I feel like you went a bit too far. And let's be honest, if any of this was realistic, those two people would be dead or
Yeah,
laying in the hospital.
he did go too far. A number of the things that he did to Harry and Marv were very illegal. Like, for instance, blowtorching Harry's head. That's illegal.
However, yeah. However, if they didn't die, I'm just gonna guess that they're invincible and it's fine.
Yeah, and also just a PSA out there to anyone, if you get a burn, do not immediately put that burn into ice. You're just going to make it worse.
No, I did. Okay, take it with a grain of salt, and I have seen it work. But mustard.
Usually,
It,
from what I have heard from Dr. Mike, who went
mm,
over like all the medical injuries that were in this film, it's a great video.
yeah.
I do recommend it. He says that ideally, what you would want is lukewarm water.
Mm, yeah. Um, my cooking teacher once someone got a burn, and it was just a small burn. They just like put a little bit of mustard on it. Apparently, it felt better from that person.
The other
Fucking
thing too
weird,
is
but I'm
that
not gonna doubt.
the other thing too is that with the kind of burn that he got on his head, it's questionable whether or not he would even feel it. Because
Hmm.
sometimes burns can be so severe that they actually burn the nerves, so you
Oh
can't
yeah.
feel it. And I really can't imagine the burn was not severe enough to actually burn the nerves.
I mean, if we go on to the other person for a second, the one that just got hit and square in the head with I forgot but looked heavy. Um,
Yeah, they
that's
also
either
both fall
concussion
from
or blunt force trauma.
they also both fall from a height of 2 stories. So
Oh, into a brick wall. Don't forget about the brick wall part.
oh yeah. I can't imagine they're not dead. Technically, I think you could live through all of this, but you would be very banged up and probably not well.
And I just want to just a little bit of spoiler for the second movie. It's even worse in that movie.
Oh, I can't imagine.
I'm pretty sure like there was like an electric shock that had like showing their skeleton.
I mean, there was one guy who got shot in the nuts with, I think it was a BB. I think
Yeah, it
that was
looked
a
like a
BB
BB.
gun. Which in
Look, you
some
got
states it's
shot in the
actually
nuts with a
elite.
BB. You'd be out for the count for a while.
Yeah, and like I don't know. I do think I'm not certain about this, but I think there are some places in the U.S. where it's illegal to own a BB, a BB gun. I'm not sure. I
Like
know,
so, like
yeah,
straight up illegal to own a BB gun.
maybe. I don't know. Maybe if you're a
But
minor, it could be illegal.
I can't
In some
actually. How
places,
old is that person anyway? The one
I don't
that
know.
actually had the BB.
I don't know. He looks 15 to me.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, he seems like a 15-year-old.
I mean, he's
I
smuggling
mean,
Playboys. I mean, I wouldn't want to imagine what else he's smuggling.
probably weed. No, this is 1990. Probably not.
Lol.
If it was the 60s or now, probably.
Probably, yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I think there is some stuff of value here to this movie, which is why I am going to end up rating it higher than The Last Unicorn, even though this movie infuriates me and that movie just confuses the hell out of me.
I was going to ask whether you felt like this movie deserves better than The Last Unicorn.
Yeah.
Then
That
again, you
said, I
could
do
really
think
just chop up the movie, and let's be honest, most people have only watched like clippets of the movie because they see it on cable. Oh right, another thing I wanted to say. Oh my god, Freeform! I know you're out there. You play this movie way too much. Holy shit! It's
blame
like
Disney. They're the ones that own Freeform.
really,
Yeah.
and they actually do own Home Alone too.
Yeah.
I
Now
actually
they do
never
at
knew that.
least.
Holy shit! Wait, huh? Okay, that's just new information for me.
Freeform used to be ABC Family. That's how I know because Disney owns
Oh,
ABC.
okay. And obviously, Freeform is not the only one just constantly playing Home Alone.
The amount
Fucking
of
everyone is.
the amount of TV channels that Disney owns is a lot. Like there's Disney Channel, and then I think on most cable services there's a version of Disney Channel that's 3 hours behind.
Weird, but okay.
Yeah, and then there's Disney XD, and then there's Disney Junior, and Freeform, and ABC, and it's a lot.
I like to say, like, the stuff of value of this movie, it, to me at least, is very overwhelming. Because, like, that's the movie, and that's what made it popular, you know? What made it popular was the slapstick, the over the top abuse that these robbers are getting because they just want some treasure and I guess
Yeah,
flood someone's house, which
and
that's a
you
dick
know,
move.
yeah, real dick move. He's gonna take everything they own and then flood their house. So, like it,
And then their
they're not
water
even gonna
bill is
have it.
just gonna be insane.
Their
Like,
water bill is gonna be insane. The repair costs to their house is gonna be insane. Because, like, obviously that's gonna do a lot of water damage.
oh, obviously, yeah.
And remember, they just got a bunch of stuff stolen that they need to replace too. So it's like it would take them a while. And what they're able to do would depend on how much they have in their bank account. And considering these robbers go after these homes while people are on vacation, it's probably not that much.
Yeah, no. I mean, they think also if they had any cash in their homes, like a safe, they would think, oh yeah, I have plenty of money back at home. But no, they don't. That's either flooded or gone.
Yeah, or it's
Jesus.
in a place that
Nope.
or it's in a place they couldn't find.
That
that
too,
was like
yeah.
high up enough that was like high up enough that it couldn't get flooded or was waterproof.
hmm I
My
mean,
dad
in that
actually keeps a bunch of
situation,
money. My dad actually keeps a bunch of money in a waterproof case.
in that in that one scenario, good for you. But a lot of these people probably didn't. So as many laws as Kevin broke that day, they deserved all of it.
I don't know if I would
Let's
go
be
so far
real.
as to say they I don't know if I would go so far as to say they deserve all of it because some of the stuff Kevin did to them could very easily have killed them.
I mean,
And I
they
don't know.
ruined multiple families with everything they had. They had no reason to go that far. They just wanted, they just steal to steal. They had no reason to go that far to flood the place.
I'm
As
I'm
one of the characters said he's sick.
To be clear, I think that the whole idea that he ruined the families is, in theory, correct. They may also still be able to recover. Because I didn't take into account insurance.
That is true. And, well, their families are probably not ruined now because they freaking caught the guy, so...
Like,
silver linings, I guess.
There's not only insurance, but also, like, reparations that they would be forced to pay by the court system. Like, there is at least something. So, in theory, they could have ruined the families, and also in theory, they could very easily bounce back.
Then you have to ask yourself, like, what would likely happen in a scenario? They robbed multiple houses. It even says that every house that was flooded, we now know it's you. So apparently,
yeah.
they robbed multiple houses that Christmas time. How many of those houses do you think could just, if they never got caught, of course, would just not be able to financially recover from this?
Well, it's questionable because, again, insurance doesn't like the insurance company doesn't care about whether or not the guy is caught.
True, but I guess it's more health insurance that doesn't care about your health.
I mean,
that's a weird thing to say.
Yeah, I mean, healthcare situation in America sucks. But the other thing too that I noticed with this movie is like the whole thing about it taking place around Christmas time is really just a device to explain some things away in the plot without them feeling contrived. So like, oh, all the families that live on this block are going on trips right now. Yeah, makes sense. It's Christmas. Doesn't feel contrived. Oh, the family is having trouble getting back home to Kevin because all the flights are booked. Christmas. Like, each of these things would work on their own, even if it wasn't Christmas.
I just realized Christmas is a plot device.
Yes, that's what I was trying to say earlier in our previous conversation. The Christmas here is literally just a plot device to make things not seem contrived. It would work just as well with Thanksgiving.
I mean, there's also something like what if they just wanted to make a Christmas movie, and it just so happens that the movie could work on Thanksgiving.
It could work on Thanksgiving. You could maybe argue it could even work on Mother's Day or Easter.
I mean, I'm not...
actually,
Easter,
probably not Easter.
Questionable.
Yeah, probably not Easter. Easter's not nearly as popular now as it used to be. In fact, like
popular.
I think recently, even among Christians, it's not nearly as popular. Because the thing is, like, yeah, it's the last church I went to, they had a theory about this. They believe that the whole premise of Easter is like, you know, it's when Christ died for our sins and blah 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 blah. It's it's basically people don't like to be held accountable. This was their theory, and so now the two most common days that people go to church are on the Sunday before Christmas and Mother's Day.
Huh.
And it used to be the Sunday before Christmas and Easter.
Wait, why Mother's Day?
I have no idea.
Huh. Well, I go to church none of the days. not
I
religious.
don't really go to church anymore. I don't really go to church anymore either. I mean, I do still consider
Yeah,
myself a Christian, but most Christians these days, they follow a
when it
different Jesus
probably
than the one I follow.
most Christians would probably not consider you as a Christian.
No, they probably wouldn't, but like I feel like I understand Jesus more than they do because the way I see it,
Mhm.
Jesus was the ultimate social justice warrior. Like he and a lot of people would have you believe that if Jesus was alive today, he'd be a right winger, but the guy was as liberal as they come according to the text of the Bible. Like he was
Yeah,
literally a
when it
socialist.
comes, yeah, when it comes to me, obviously, I've never been religious a day in my life. And there is parts where I've sung, the chorals. I've done everything because my parents just thought, oh, it's a fun thing, even though Christianity was tied to it.
Yeah, and
Um,
the thing is, like, Christmas is still very much a religious holiday. It's ballooned into more than that, but at its roots, that's what it is.
definitely. Um, Obviously, a lot of non-religious people have definitely celebrated Christmas, my family included.
Yeah, and it's not exactly um, it everything doesn't exactly match up either. I mean, um, historical record indicates that Jesus was not born in December, so
Huh.
there's that too. Uh,
What I remember, and I just want to say, this, I actually remember I met you while you were still going to church.
yeah, but the pastor of that church turned out to basically, it turned out he told me one thing to my face and then said another thing in a sermon when I wasn't there, and that sermon went up on YouTube, and I watched it. So, when I figured out that, hey, this guy is, like, this guy will say one thing and believe another, I don't really want to be in a church that supports him.
Yeah. Pastors are just weird to me. Like, it's just one guy of power. Like, what gives him this so much respect? I don't know.
Going to
It's
school
something
for
I
a
guess
number
I'll
of
just
years.
never understand.
But like, I don't know. I don't know if I'm ever gonna go to a church in where I live because like it's kind of hard to find uh, more libertarian Christians, and even more so harder to find Christians that are accepting of trans people. Because like I don't know. It's hard.
Yeah.
That said, with regard to Christmas movies, we are going to continue doing this Christmas movie. Like we're going to be doing two specials every year, but we're not going to be going out of our way to try to avoid Christmas movies that lean into the Christianity side of Christmas because it's simply just impossible to avoid it.
Yeah. Though, I would. My ideal Christmas movie is probably Violent Night instead of, all of this religious talk. I'm
Yeah,
just saying.
I don't know. I still keep going back and forth on whether I think Violent Night looks good or bad.
I mean, at the end of the day, you just have to watch it to ultimately see.
And I don't know if I will ever do that.
I don't blame you, but ultimately, there's only one way out, and it's to truly find out for
Yeah, well,
yourself,
I
at
mean,
least.
the thing is, like, I don't know if I will ever do that because I don't know if it will ever be available.
Oh, that's also
Like,
true. Yeah.
but anyway, I don't really have much more to say about Home Alone. I didn't like the movie. The few things I did like, I've talked about. Um,
Hmm.
I mean, granted, it
I
is
think.
like a decent. at least the things that I did like are like a decent chunk of the movie. So there is that.
That is, yeah. I guess the takeaway of Home Alone is definitely the majority of the movie is watchable, even to
Yeah.
the harshest critic.
So
With that out of the way, I guess we have to get to. Oh, speaking of the critics, critic ratings.
yeah. So IMDb gives this movie a 7.7 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes
Okay.
gives it a 66%. TV Guide has it at 63%, and
Who?
91% of yeah, and 91% of Google users like the movie.
Okay, TV Guide has it pretty low, but again, who?
Yeah, I mean, fucking what?
Um, like I said, I do love this movie, and I'm not afraid to say it's probably fucking nostalgia. However, with that said, it's still not as good as some of the other
Elf.
movies we've covered on this podcast.
I wouldn't even say it's as
So
good as Elf.
it's debatable for me. Obviously, my elf experience was not as high as yours, but honestly, I think I'm actually gonna have to give this. Oh God, actually, this is hard. 7 point. Fuck it. Actually, you know what? No, same as Elf. 7.3. That's actually the only thing I can think of.
So I'm giving this movie a 5.1.
Wow, point one better than the last unicorn.
Yeah, because like the thing is, the last unicorn it left me confused. I didn't know what to feel after I watched it. I can't even necessarily say that I enjoyed the movie. This movie had aspects of it that I did enjoy. It had aspects of it that I despised. So, given that it actually gave me more feelings than just confusion, I have to give it at least a little bit better than what I gave The Last Unicorn.
God, that was just a confusing movie.
Yeah. But, I mean, with all that being said, you can join us next week for the SpongeBob SquarePants movie and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 1. Hopefully, you can join us next year for Home Alone 2. And with all that being said, I've been Avery, that's been Lily, and we will be seeing you.